Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of محطة عبور. This podcast will be hosted by myself, Maha, and Umnia. We are both students at the Faculty of Dentistry Rabat, and we will be discussing issues related to the broader concept of health, ranging from prevention, healthcare, all the way to policy. For decades, tobacco companies have been doing everything they can to promote their harmful product, especially amongst the younger generation. Young people have been the target of their marketing campaigns for a very long time now, since they represent what tobacco companies call replacement smokers. This is a way to make sure their profits are not affected by the deaths their products cause each year. And Morocco is by no means an exception. The latest numbers have shown that 23.4% of the male adults in Morocco are smokers, and most of them take up smoking at a very early age. These numbers are the result of the lack of comprehensive tobacco control policies, meaning a combination of public awareness, industry surveillance, taxation, and many more. Today we will be discussing Morocco's current situation with regards to the tobacco control measures recommended by the WHO and how far these measures are enforced. Hello Umnia, how are you doing?
Hi Maha, I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. As you all know, Morocco has taken some steps to tackle the tobacco issue lately, but some reports have shown that the policies are not fully implemented in real life, especially in schools and universities. So my question for you, Umnia, is to what extent does your or our faculty respect its smoke-free status?
Well, theoretically, all educational facilities are smoke-free environments, but unfortunately, not everyone abides by the law. If, for example, one person decides that it's okay to smoke inside the faculty, everyone's gonna do it eventually. And that includes students as well as teachers and staff members, etc.
Yeah, especially with the lack of surveillance system, right?
Honestly, I don't know for sure whether there is a surveillance system or not, but from what I've seen so far in the past 5 years, there haven't been any attempts to enforce the smoking ban.
Plus, I think this is an advertising method that the industry has nothing to do with for once.
Yeah, exactly. This could help to spread this behavior at a very, very fast rate among students. And in fact, many have taken up smoking during their first years of college, peer influence at its best.
Other than that, Umnia, where do you think Moroccans are most exposed to secondhand smoke?
Well, basically everywhere where the smoking ban is not fully implemented, such as bars and coffee shops and restaurants. Oh, and for the record, there's this after-school tradition amongst medical and dental students where we go some, student-friendly cafes to study for the rest of the evening before we go home. However, these spaces are where you would be most exposed to secondhand smoke because students smoke heavily to quote-unquote relieve stress, especially during exam season. And making a habit out of this is very, very harmful. And I know this because I used to go there all the time and until I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, don't we all?
I know.
We've all been through this.
Yeah, I know. And when you get home, everything just smells really, really bad. Your clothes, your hair, your books, literally everything.
Well, that's third-hand smoke for all of us. And what do you think can be done to tackle this? Do you think it's solely the decision-maker's job?
I mean, sure, in essence, everything has this policy aspect that makes it partially the decision-maker's job, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a certain amount of individual responsibility. And just to explain how individual responsibility comes into this, for example, remember those coffee shops I mentioned earlier?
Yes, I do.
So who do you think is the most affected by cigarette smoke there?
Well, I'd say staff members, maybe, because, they're the ones who are exposed for the longest period of time there.
Yeah, exactly. That makes them very, very vulnerable. And the least we can do, or smokers can do, is step outside for a smoke. I know that it's allowed, and I know that they really don't have to do it.
Indeed.
Yeah, but we don't have to wait for the government to make policies. There are little steps we can take to reduce harm and protect those who are most vulnerable among us.
Yeah, and I also believe that for this to happen, smokers have to be aware of the harm they may potentially cause to others. And speaking of this, have you ever had to ask someone to not smoke near you? And how do they usually take it?
Well, I personally haven't, but there's this friend of mine. She went to a coffee shop the other day, and she was sitting in a smoke-free area, and some girl started smoking. So my friend kindly reminded her that smoking there was not allowed, but the girl replied that she had spoken to the manager about it, etc. And so they called the manager, and he surprisingly asked my friend to go sit somewhere else. So she was appalled and just grabbed her stuff and left. I mean, I get that they're trying to secure regular customers, but I thought that perhaps maybe they should stick to the rules they have set.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. It's not an easy place to be in, to be honest. And this leads us to think that we have a hard time sticking to the rules here in Morocco, no matter how small they are. And in a way, all of us, you, me, and our common friend, are part of the problem as well, because when we are faced with such bold violations of the law, we only complain about them, but we don't report them. And even if we were to do that, we wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. And that's because the culture simply doesn't exist.
Yeah, indeed. So moving on to the next question, do you see that there's still room for improvement in policy here in Morocco?
Oh yeah, there's a lot that can and should be done regarding this, but I think before we think about building some new policies, it's important that we ensure that the ones already in place are properly implemented. And having said that, we can introduce some new measures such as raising taxes on tobacco products and maybe severe regulation at point of sale retail stores.
Yeah.
Because they do target you most of the time,
Exactly.
thereby selling single stick cigarettes or displaying the products at eye level.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think that would be possible? I mean, tobacco companies are really powerful and it's a business. The industry has historically employed many tactics to influence tobacco control policies worldwide, especially with developed countries. So do you really think countries like Morocco will be able to increase taxes on tobacco products or implement new policies that will make tobacco less affordable or less accessible to the public?
Well, I guess you're right. It's maybe easier said than done. But the World Health Organization actually recommends a minimum of 75%, if I remember correctly, as a tax share of the retail price of tobacco. And in Morocco, it's actually 71%, so it's not as bad as you would think. And this goes to show that successful tobacco control policies are not unidimensional, meaning that the more comprehensive they are, the better the outcome. And I think that major strides can be made if everyone simply does their part.
Yeah.
The government can try to set top-down policies for us, such as smoke-free environments in schools and stuff. But this can only be attained if these organizations also take matters into their own hands, to ensure that these policies are not violated. And it's also up to teachers and educators, for example, to provide their students.
Also, digital influencers.
Yeah, those as well.
Social media platforms.
Huge influence, yeah. It's up to them to provide this younger generation with the proper knowledge related to the topic. And I do believe that good outcomes can and will be achieved through joint efforts, at the individual, organizational, and even policy level.
Yeah, you're right, Umnia. Collaboration is really essential to accomplishing anything worthwhile. Well, thank you. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks. It was great.
See you next time on محطة عبور, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.